Kia ora, good morning. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I need to I need to document something that happened today that is kind of I need to document it. I'll process my feelings about it. Maybe as I'm talking, but if you know my story and you know how I've been dreaming about the grandmother tree since I was a little girl, like 4 or 5 years old, around the time, oh, excuse me, around the time that my best friend Kevin and I were almost put in the car by that man. I must have been about 5. About 4 or 5. So if you don't know, ever since I was a little girl, like when I it was either just as I was about to start school or when I first started school. I even remember my first day of school. The reason why I'm not sure about the age is because you start school at 5 in New Zealand, but usually like a few months before you start school, they kind of prepare you for school it's kind of like kindergarten. You'll spend like a few months sort of at kindergarten at the school before you actually start school, or that's how it was when I was living in Alexander Street. And I used to have these dreams, like this repetitive dream over and over and over and over and over again, right up until I was in my 20s. The same dream over and over and over and over and over and over again, where I would be walking up to this big old ancient tree that had like a huge branch kind of not hanging off, but a huge branch like to the right. And she had like this white bark, but it wasn't like a birch or anything. It was like a huge sort of maybe oak tree or something like that, or walnut tree, or I don't know, but it was a huge, big lush tree with sort of whitish bark. And I would walk up to her and put my nose against her bark and say, Chetiwa Wahe, which I later found out, like only a couple of years ago, that there's a Chetiwa Wahe, there's a Native American, like First Nations tribe, where it means, in their language, I don't know if it's Chippewa. I don't know, I can't remember the tribe offhand. Where Chetiwa Wahe means something like family togetherness, or together as family, family reunion. It's something to do with family, and welcoming family, or welcome family. It's something like that. It blew my mind because it was like, oh my God. Because it's obviously when I was putting my nose up to her, we were saying, welcome home. Welcome, like I was being reunited with my Mesoamerican bloodline, which I only found out last year, that I have a that even my blood type is Mesoamerican. The highest proportion of people with my blood type are First Nations of America, Mesoamerican. And being Māori as well, we originated from Hawaii. Well, I mean, okay, technically we originated from Africa, but you know what I mean. As Polynesians, we came from Hawaii on the boat, on the waka, on the canoe Tainui, and discovered New Zealand after discovering like the Polynesian islands and all that, right? So, and then I climb up on her branch, this big branch, and it's like I'm just so happy. It's like she's just holding me in her loving embrace, and all the people in the dream were shocked at how casually I was laying about this tree and this branch, because this tree was considered to be like really, really sacred, and they couldn't believe that I was not I guess like disrespecting this ancient tree because I'd climbed up on her branch, but I didn't give a shit because that was my grandmother. It's like, don't tell me I can't hug my grandmother, sort of thing. And then that's when the tree talked to me and said, you need to, like, I had to go in the direction the branch was pointing in. I had to follow the direction the branch was pointing in. And she said, when you get to the coyote, turn right. Oh, excuse me. And follow the animals until you get to the horses. And the horses will take you the rest of the way. And when they stop, look up. And that will lead the way. And years later, obviously, once I grew up and figured everything out, I thought, the grandmother tree dream, she's telling me that when I look up, it's going to point the way to where I'm supposed to build my foundation. There was red sand behind her, like this deep red sand. And I've spent many, many, many years, if you know my screenshots and that, I talk about the grandmother tree on my WordPress. I've talked about the grandmother tree for years. Years and years and years and years. So, today I was watching, I like to watch The Girl with Two Dogs. You know, she's a dog groomer. She does cats as well. I like watching her videos, and also We Rate Dogs. I follow them. I just love everything that they do, so I follow them to help support the channel. Yeah, so like I was watching various cat and dog videos on YouTube today, and then I went to the bathroom to shave my legs with my headphones on, listening to some music on Spotify, and my phone rang. But I went into my room to check the number. I didn't recognise it, so I didn't answer it, because I don't answer the phone if I don't recognise the number. If I'm not expecting the call, I don't answer the phone. Excuse me, because of what happened with Rocio. And after I shaved my legs, I looked the number up, and it was the equine riding school in Cambridgeshire. And I immediately thought, Like, I don't know, it just, the first thing I thought was horses. And I thought, oh my God, horses. And for some reason, it immediately took me to the grandmother tree dream. And I'm thinking, okay, think back. Think back to the instructions. Turn right when you get to the coyote. Well, you know that video that I made this morning, the coyote to Native Americans is the trickster. They seal your fate, they decide your fate. Depending on how you handle the coyote will depend on where your destiny lies. They're kind of like, they're neither good nor bad. It all depends on how you handle the trial. It all depends on how you handle the test that the coyote gives you. And I thought that live that I made in regards to, you know, the Bowen Kingsley trickster, the coyote. And I thought, well, is that Martin or is that Elon Musk? But either way, regardless of who Bowen Kingsley was, he was a test, and I said that. I knew he was a test. I knew he was trying to set me up for something, and I put all the emails up and proved that he had access to child child pornography and blah blah blah. And by exposing him, I think I passed some sort of test because he was trying to set me up. He was the coyote. So whoever Bowen Kingsley was, and my suspicion was it was either my husband Martin or Elon Musk, I passed the test. The trickster, the coyote, failed at tricking me. So then I thought, okay, the animals, follow the animals. Remember I said this morning I had a dream where I was in a park and I was watching all the animals, and there was like deer and foxes and cats and dogs and wolves. And then I saw my girl Amber, and she took me into that church, and she was ringing the church bell, and she was dressed as a goth. Right? So follow the animals. And I've been watching the videos, and I had that dream this morning. Until I get to the horses, and when the horses stop, I'm to look up. So then when the phone rang, and it was obviously like they dialed the wrong number, when I came back to my room and, was setting myself up after I'd shaved my legs, I turned the YouTube on. Oh, excuse me. And the first thing to pop up was a live feed of Donald Trump getting his name taken down from the Kennedy Center. And I thought, so I am going back to America. Like, I am going to America. So I think I'm going back to the original plan. I think because Donald Trump is clearly 100% definitely on his way out, because I said to God, I will never go to America while Trump and Musk are there. And he was like, hold my beer. And my teacher had always said, the prophecy always said, that I'd be welcomed with open arms to the land of A's. Now, if I get rid of Donald Trump, if my physics is getting rid of Donald Trump and Elon Musk, the Americans are going to love me. And, like, I don't think I'm going to have a problem getting a visa there, which means I can go to South Dakota And there is a town there for sale that I want to buy that would be perfect. And so I thought, so is that it? It's like Alpha to Omega. It's like I'm watching. It's almost like things have been rewritten. I was thinking about this yesterday. I'm watching Disney collapse. I'm watching Hollywood collapse. I'm watching all these things collapse that I'm coming into the market for. As I'm starting to approach this new beginning in this new life, making movies and video games and TV shows and that, what I'm going to be getting involved in, like in America, if it is America, is it's like it's been removed so that I can take over. And a prime example of that is Doctor Who. They made him black and gay. Nothing wrong with being black and gay, but they've destroyed Doctor Who with their wokeness so much now that die-hard fans have now turned their back. I stopped watching after Matt Smith, and I love Doctor Who. My son and I, we used to watch Doctor Who every week. My son was a huge Doctor Who fan, and it was because of our love of the Daleks and the Cybermen that we came up with the whole conception of Hercules Quantum Menace tribute thing. The brain in a suit, the brain in a robot suit sort of thing. That was our paying homage to the Daleks and Cybermen. And now Doctor Who has done so abysmally well that the creators have turned on the fans, and now the fans, in turn, now hate Doctor Who because they blamed the Doctor Who fans for not being progressive and for not being woke. And the Doctor Who fans have taken offence to that. And when I was reading it, the first thing I thought was, oh, so I'm going to get to take over Doctor Who. Because the time-jumping detective is our version of Doctor Who, where he travels through space, where he has all sorts of adventures on Earth, where he's got a companion that can teleport through his pocket watch. George Elmer. And I've already written some episodes as well. The first episode I wrote, The Busybodies. So it's like, as Doctor Who's getting removed, I created the time-jumping detective. As Disney's crashing and burning, I'm creating the Amber Rose and all my movies. As Hollywood is crashing and burning, I'm creating all my movies. As people are starting to turn their back on TV because there's nothing good out there, I'm creating my TV shows. As people are sick of the trash in music and the sleaze in music, I'm creating I've got a record label. I'm creating a record label. I'm creating musicals and concerts, and I'm bringing traditional entertainment back, as the OGs have destroyed themselves by going woke. Now, don't get me wrong. I've written some things in my stuff that represent the LGBT community. VASA is, you can't, because my son is bi, his character, I made his character, you can't tell if it's a boy or a girl. His character Vasa, the little spriteling in Lucian's Dragon, you can't tell what his gender is. Because my son's figuring himself out. He's had girlfriends. He had a girlfriend. He's just had his poor little thing. Yeah, so he had a girlfriend. He's in love with whoever he's gonna fall in love with. He's not sleazy in that. He wants to fall in love and, you know, be a husband and all that sort of thing, but he's just not sure if he's going to settle down with a woman or a man, and I'm fully supportive of that. He believes in two genders. He's not the whole woke ideology thing, but he's figuring himself out. So I said to him, with your character Vasa, the spriteling, in Lucian's Dragon, do you want me to make him so that you can't tell if it's a boy or a girl? I mean, he literally looks like a green seed that's sprouting leaves because he's like a fermented, you know, he's like a sprout of an oak tree. And he said, yes, please, I'd love that. So that's what I've done. So, you know, this isn't, I mean, I grew up with the LGBT community of Sydney and Australia and that, so this isn't me saying, oh, because, you know, he was gay and blah, 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 but you don't mess with tradition. And Doctor Who, they mess with Doctor Who so much now that people have stopped watching. And because it was one of the biggest TV franchises in British and Commonwealth history, that has now started sinking. They've sunk that ship. They've turned around and blamed the fans for saying that they're not progressive enough and that, so that's offended the fans. Because the fans don't give a shit if you're gay and that, just don't mess around with Doctor Who. You know, you don't, you don't mess with an icon. It'd be like making Luke Skywalker black or a lesbian. You don't do it, just don't do it. Just leave it alone. You know, they messed with a good thing so much that now it's unrecognisable to the people who were diehard fans. And when you have a diehard fan, those people will spend their money on your merchandise. And when you mess with your loyal fans, you won't sell any of the merchandise or anything like that. And the cult following dies out. So it's like, well, the time-jumping detective is our version of Doctor Who. And if anyone's going to be able to write sci-fi fantasy stuff, it's me. And because I am a time-jumping physicist, you know, time theory is my physics, and I know all about the Brethren and how it really works out there in space, and, you know, the gods and like the adipose and the Ood and all that. That is so me. Thomas and I were just talking about the, I can never remember their name, the episode in Doctor Who where the kids wore the gas masks. We were talking about that episode the other day because I was telling them about stuff that I had written, and that's how we got onto the whole conversation of the ethers and the overlords and that reverse engineered portal, and I was talking about the mirror of liminality, sucking the bad guys into the mirror where they're stuck in liminal space, in dark matter and all of that. I mean, that's me. That's and because my son and I are like that. Can you imagine the Doctor Who episodes I'd be writing for the time jumping detective? So I was saying, you know, it's almost like God's removing this so that I can come in with that. So then after the whole the horses will take you the rest of the way, and then when they stop, look up. And when I checked and saw that it was a equine farm, and then I went to YouTube. I literally, because I was laying back on my pillow and I was holding my phone up above my face. So with like I'm doing right now, I'm looking right at my phone, but my phone is slightly elevated above my face because of how I've got my arm resting. And it was the men on the scaffolding getting ready to take Donald Trump's name down from the Kennedy Center Performing Arts Center. And I thought, that must be it. X marks the spot. So I think God is saying to me, you're going to America. Like, you're gonna have what you were originally starting out. Because remember, Donald Trump's the whole reason why I never got to America. Because Rocio and Martin and that. I got married in America in New York 2017, and then all hell broke loose from there because of Rocio and Ria and Chris and Nikki and Martin and all that. I didn't know Donald Trump was the one behind the scenes. And it's almost like the glitch is about to be fixed. The tear in the fabric of my timeline has been sewn up again. And I get to go back to the original plan, Alpha to Omega. Because the thing is, Russia's sorted now. And Putin and Trump are still really good friends. Therefore, I could never go there anyway. I can't be in association with anyone associated with the people who started all this trouble in the world, who tried to kill me, who caused all this trouble for me and my boys and, my sister and that. I can't be associated with people like that. I need to think of the children. And wherever Trump and Elon Musk are, children will never be safe. It's one of the reasons why I can't go to Switzerland. Trump and Musk destroyed my chances of going to Switzerland. I'm not going to go into details, but when I found out, I was devastated. I thought, okay, well, that's it then. I am absolutely not going to Switzerland. But I'm not going to tell you why. It's personal. But it involves Trump and Elon Musk. And I thought, no way, never, ever. Which was devastating because Switzerland would have been the perfect place for me to make these movies. But it's like I've been saying to you, it's not, I can still make them in America. Even though I think that my werewolf movie would be fantastic to be made in Edinburgh, I can still make it in one of the original 13 states, Massachusetts or upstate New York, like Salem or upstate New York I could still make it there. My exorcism movie, with my version of the exorcism, I was going to film that down sort of somewhere like Louisiana anyway. So it's not like I can't do it. But then America would get their own version of Doctor Who. America would get their own version of Harry Potter. Because the two big franchises that Britain claims, that America would be able to get their own version. And I'd be bringing back like our version of Miami Vice with Draco TC and the Wolfman. And then I get to promote, Indigenous actors and musicians and, I'd be woke the right way, because the main characters in Draco TC and the Wolfman would be an African American actor and a First Nations actor. So the two leads would be minorities. And it's not to be woke, it's because I wrote these characters for what they represent for the role they play for the Ministry of Souls. Because everything that I create is educational. To teach, it all stems from the Art of Creation, which is our animated TV series. And the Art of Creation talks about every religion, every race, every skin colour, every creed, every nation on earth throughout history, and their religions and their faiths and their belief systems, because we're talking about heaven, hell and purgatory and karmic laws. And every culture on earth since time began has had their own belief system on what they think happens when you die, and living on earth and the karmic laws, and if there's a good place or a bad place to go when you die and all that. Every religion, every race, every creed has their own belief system. And if I'm going to do an animated TV series based on heaven, hell and purgatory, I need to cover every race and religion. And every race and religion are African American people and First Nations. So, they're represented. Just like I've got like Indian and Muslim and Pakistani and Irish and Scottish and Jewish, and I mean Dober Drexel's Jewish. So I've got everyone covered. So I'm not being woke, I'm being literal. I'm being factual. So I think this is possibly the dream coming to fruition. I think after all these years. So I don't know who Head of the Eagle is, but the horses were taking me to him. Sorry. Yeah, so I think, because the other dreams I used to have when I was a little girl was about Head of the Eagle, where we would be riding this horse together, or I'd be laying on the ground and he was riding a horse, and he would come and pick me up and put me on his horse. He was a little bit older than me, in the dreams, I mean. And we would sit in the field of long grass, like in the meadows of the long grass. And this eagle would always be flying above our heads, that was so big you couldn't see the sky. And I just loved him so much. And then after that Alpha to Omega dream that I had in 2019, I'll put the link in the thing. I call it my Alpha to Omega dream. I go falling out of the darkness through down into the golden dew and land at the foot of the man with wearing the eagle headdress standing next to a buffalo. And we walk through the desert and that, and then we get to this river, and we hold hands and run across the river and waiting on the other side are my two sons, and they're holding my oldest son's holding a baby, and they're surrounded by these kids from all around the world, and the kids come in and hug my husband, and then I turn into a burst of light and vanish. And I said in my dream, when I documented it, that the children had saved my husband. But at the time I was married to Martin. So I just naturally assumed I thought I was talking about Martin. But obviously not. And in the dream I remember saying it looked like somewhere like Montana. So in Montana or South Dakota what are the two places that I would move to if I went to America? The only reason why I say South Dakota is because there's a place for sale there that would be perfect for what I'm building. But I would move to Montana. I mean, I don't care as long as there's wolves and bears and buffalo and all that. But I think possibly, and I'm not 100% because I try to figure this stuff out, and then I'm often wrong because divine timing hasn't come into play, but this was a bit freaky enough that I needed to document it, because when I looked up and it was the Donald Trump name being removed from the Performing Arts Centre, I kind of felt like maybe God was saying, I'm tearing it down, Alpha to Omega, where the end, begins, the beginning ends. The end is the beginning and the beginning is the end. So it started with Trump and it ends with Trump. It started with his rise. My fall started with his rise, but his fall starts my rise. You see what I mean? So I just feel like that conversation I had with my son did something bigger than I realise. Vantablack. Oh, the night of the black sun. Because he's at college with the Royal Air Force at the moment, and remember in Night of the Black Sun, the helicopter, and he chops the hands off the person holding onto the helicopter. So my son and I have done something on a universal karmic justice scale that I haven't quite figured out yet, but I know is going to make sense one day, that's bigger than we realise. That conversation we had brought something that I wrote into the Night of the Black Sun into reality, that cut something off in regards to, because I even thought, was the one holding on to the helicopter Starmer? Because, it's the Royal Air Force. Was he trying to get hold of my boys to send them to war or something, like that sort of thing? That's what I was thinking, trying to figure it out. Because that conversation my boy and I had the other day about the ethers, it made me think about Night of the Black Sun, and I thought, my boy and I have done something that's cut something off, and because he cuts the hands off the bad guy holding onto the helicopter, and then he falls from a great height, and that seems to be Donald Trump. He's the one falling from a great height. So it's almost like my boy and I had to, I had to cast, and he conjured, we cast and conjure something on a alchemical level that tipped the balance to create the fall of the thing that was holding us back, Trump. But only him and I could have been the ones to do it. It could only have been him and I. So I know something's happened. I know we did something. I just can't explain it right now. So we did something big. We've done something big, because ever since Britain's on fire and Starmer's collapsing, Trump is having a monumental fall from grace, Musk is getting his ass kicked. They keep going on about SpaceX went live today and it's already losing money. Like it rose and then just started collapsing. The money that SpaceX has made will last about half a day. It's never going to be enough to plug the dike, so to speak. So, yeah, from a scientific point of view, from a physics point of view, I need to understand what it is that my boy and I did, but it's set off a chain of events out in the world that is tearing down the Nazi regime. It's tearing down the Third Reich. And my grandmother tree dream that I've been having for nearly 50 years came true today. I really think this is it. I really think I figured it out. And God was saying, you're going back to the original plan. You're going to have what you wanted originally. And even though it's always been my dream to go to Russia, it's one of the few safe countries in the world. America's going to go back to how it was originally. And I used to say to my mum when I was like 7, I can remember standing in the army base getting ready to go to school, saying to my mum, why couldn't I have been born in America? And she said, one day you'll be thankful you weren't. So am I going back to the original plan? I could be wrong. But I'm documenting it anyway. Because Russia's going to be fine now. Russia's getting sorted. Russia doesn't need me. And I can't go to Russia while people like Donald Trump and Elon Musk can just walk in and out and, be cozy with Putin and that, because I need to think of the children. And now that the whole Epstein thing is cracking open and exposing the White House lies and everything, with America being the number one receiver of trafficked children and that, you know, yeah, it's like it's the only thing I don't know is that she said to me that my head of the eagle would be waiting for me there, that, you know, the love of my life would be waiting for me there when I get to the land of Ace. And I'm not talking to any men in America. I'm not talking to any men. So I don't know. I don't know who head of the eagle is. But I'm supposed to know him by the time I get to America. Don't know. I honestly don't know. But whatever. So yeah, so I had to document it because it's very interesting. My grandmother tree dream. So I'll put the Alpha to Omega video up on my post so you can see. I had just come out of the underworld. I'd just come out of, you know, when I went through my dark night of the soul. And then it was, I recorded it. And then it was only a couple of weeks after that, Martin left. And then I found out who he'd left me for. So the coyote was Bowen Kingsley. Whoever Bowen Kingsley was. And I have my suspicions it was either Martin or Elon. Somebody who knows how to use AI really well. Who just called himself out as being a paedophile and having access to paedophilic material. So that's why I keep thinking more Elon Musk, but the only reason why I think Martin is because of the name, Bowen Kingsley. But because, you know, they are a cult, they're in a cult, and names are everything to them. Symbolisms and names and that are everything to them. And the name Bowen Kingsley is like hitting the mark. The king at hitting the mark. Like the master archer. But it backfired. Because they're idiots and they thought they were being clever, but they don't know what they're doing when it comes to the occult. So yeah, so God, watching the Trump stuff getting torn down from the Performing Arts Centre, it's God's way of saying I'm tearing it all down. Trump and his cult are getting torn down so that you'll have safe passage to America, so that you'll be able to go to America and it'll be safe. So, yay! That's how it stands so far. So I'm going to go now. I'll speak to you later. I'm just laughing because I'm thinking like I'm watching everything burn down around Donald Trump and Elon Musk and Keir Starmer and that. Things are literally being torched and set on fire for Zelensky and Macron and von der Leyen and everything. It's like, it reminds me of that dream that I had where I was on the Star of Brehenus and God was saying that he was fanning the flames to burn it all down. And there was a man sitting behind my sons and I crying because he didn't know how he'd gotten up on the star. Oh, look up. And I said, don't worry, you're safe here. And then I was showing him the observatory. We were standing at the observatory, standing at our observatory, looking through the telescope at the North Star. So who the hell is this man? There's someone watching in the wings. who's about to become a very prominent person in my life. But I honestly have zero clue as to who it is. There's times when I've thought, oh, could it be this person? Could it be that person? And then I'm always wrong. So I don't know. But I'm literally not talking to anyone. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Anyway, so I'm going to go. Ka kite. Ka kite.